Konnichiwa, Samurai James here. In this video, I'm going to show you a DIY method for making a cutting stand. Now for this, my shop is kind of a mess, so I've got pictures instead of videos, so I'm going to narrate through this. First up, I've got a 4x4 post that was 8 feet long, and I've cut it into 4 sections, 2 feet long. You could actually use this to make 4 cutting stands if you really wanted to, or find some buddies to go in and split the cost. Next up, I was doing this one on the cheap, so I've grabbed some old pieces of 2x4s and grabbed them to use to make the legs on it. Now this is just personal preference, but I decided to put a 45-degree angle on the end of mine just to make it look a little prettier. It's certainly not necessary. Now in this picture, I've taken some 1-inch inner diameter PVC tubing, and I'm going to be using that as something that we'll be putting 1-inch spikes into that we'll be using for spiking tatami. I've cut 4 of them here in 3-inch sections each. The reason for this is having some extra ones in case one of the spikes gets waterlogged and swells up into the PVC sleeve. I simply have a few more to use, and then I can set the other spike aside to let it dry out. Now here on the right, I'm showing you the spade bit that I used to drill out the hole for this. That's a 1 3/8 inch spade bit, which is a little bit bigger than the outer diameter of a 1-inch PVC, because the 1-inch diameter is the inside of the PVC, but the outer diameter is close to 1 3/8 of an inch. This is just a close-up to show you that it's definitely a 1 3/8 inch bit. To find the center line to start drilling down, place your 4x4 upright and grab any kind of straight edge, a ruler, or a piece of wood, whatever else. And if you start from corner to corner, top left to bottom right, and draw a line towards the middle, and then do the same thing from the bottom left to the top right and draw a line, you'll be able to find the center easily. Now for this, I'm going to be alternating with the spade bit and this hole saw bit that I have. The hole saw bit is going to be important for a reason that I'll tell you here just in a moment. Now in this picture, I've drilled out just a little bit more than 3 inches down since I cut the PVC pieces to 3 inches. What I'm going to be doing is placing just a little strip at the bottom to lift that PVC up so that we're able to drain the water out underneath. And what you can see here is 4 screws that I've placed in. What I've done is made markings around the outside, and I've drilled holes up at a slight angle to go into the bottom of this hole. These screws will get removed before we actually use it for cutting, but this is just here to illustrate how those drainage holes sit and how they work. Now here's a picture with them removed and with the sawdust cleaned up. You'll see on the outer edge there's a brighter color to the wood. That's where I've actually gone through with that hole saw and drilled down a little bit more. Since a hole saw is only cutting the outside edge and the spade bit cuts fairly evenly all the way down, what this does is leave a ring around the bottom with an elevated section in the middle so that when we want the water to drain out, we have sort of a little circle around it, kind of like a moat to drain the water out through those 4 drain holes. And here's a picture with the PVC sleeve in place on top. You can see it's got just a little bit of clearance around it so that you can lift it in and out easily, but not so much to be floppy and unusable as a support for your cutting mediums. Now that we're done drilling everything out from the top, I'm going to go ahead and start attaching the legs. You may want to do this if you didn't have a vise or something else to hold the 4x4 in while you were working with it before. What I've done is just taken 2 screws, offset them there, and attach the leg flush up to one edge of it. Here's an assembled picture. You can see where each leg sits flush against the other, going around the 4x4 in sort of a pinwheel pattern. Now here's a close-up showing the line that I made on the outside and where that drain hole comes out. I made drain holes on all 4 sides. That may be overkill, but hey, it's just the cost of a few minutes to drill a few more holes. I don't mind. You can also see the little bit of gap at the top from the PVC. That's because I haven't put that spacer in place to bring it up flush and bring it up just a little bit so that those drain holes will function. And just another picture from another side showing another drain hole and how low that PVC sits in there. What I'll be doing before I actually cut with it is just lifting the PVC out, putting a small strip of wood in the bottom there for it to sit on top of, then dropping the PVC back in place. That'll lift the PVC up so that as the water accumulates from the tatami draining down, it'll go down, leak down, get into that little circular ring on the outside that I used from the hole saw, and then it'll drain right out of those little drainage holes. Thank you, gravity. Now you can stain it if you want a pretty appearance for it. You can paint it. You can do whatever else you want with it. I'm probably going to leave it as is. I might go back and paint it later, but for now I got some sword videos to make. As always, this is Samurai James saying thanks for watching and sayonara.